Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon and this is Sewing with Nightmare. Today I'm going to be trying out another trouser pattern, and this is part of my trouser series where I try out patterns and rate them based on several things. I'm probably going to make a Google document to link in the description that will have my ratings so far and what those ratings are and the numbers for the pants that I've done so far. Today's pattern is going to be the Mitchell trousers from Closet Core Patterns. And the reason why I chose these pants was because I really like the silhouette. So I'm going to do the wide leg pants here with the strap. So this one has a strap on the side here that you can like tighten the pants up if you want. And I'm gonna do this view with that strap. So again, for this pattern, I'm going to be using up some material that I've had in my stash. I likely purchased this for something else and then never used it, and I'm not sure what I had intended it for, but this is a like pinstriped cotton denim type of material that has a little bit of a stretch to it, just ever so slightly. And I really like this material and I think it will look really good for the pants. It's like a denim, but not exactly. So it's not as thick as a denim. It's a pretty lightweight fabric. I'm really excited to see how this pattern works out. Let's go get started with doing a mock-up. So for this one in particular, I decided I needed to do a mock-up because I wasn't sure. These are very high-waisted pants and I'm not a big fan of really high-waisted pants. So I wanted to do a mock-up to see about the rise because I've never made anything from this pattern maker before, and if I was going to need to do a rise adjustment or if I was going to need to shorten the waist of the pants. So like make them so they are not that high-waisted, because I think I'm a little bit short-waisted. I'm not 100% sure. Some patterns end up just, when they're really high-waisted, like those carpenter pants, they just make me feel like my pants are like all the way up to my chest. I think it's unnecessarily high. So I want to do, because I want to make sure that these pants are going to fit me and that I'm going to like the end result because I like the silhouette of them, I'm going to do a quick mock-up just to check for those few things, where the waist is going to sit and the crotch rise, and see if I need to do any adjustments to that. Lengthwise, I'm not really worried. If they're a little too wide-legged, I can always take that out later. I'm not really worried about that. So I'm excited to get started. Let's go get into it. Okay, so here's the mock-up that I made for the Mitchell trousers. I have this front pinned closed. I didn't add any pockets to it, obviously. I just kind of eliminated those. And you can see here that they are, I have folded them over a little bit in the back here because I don't like them super high-waisted. I think my waist is generally a little bit lower than most patterns call for, and I feel like this is a little bit more comfortable. So I took this in a little bit here, just in the waist, and then I'll taper it out to the hip because I do need the extra room in the hip. And then I folded this over and marked where I want it to be here. So I'm going to shorten this just a little bit, maybe an inch, maybe a half an inch. I gotta measure on it when I take them off. And then otherwise, that's it. So I just need to take it in a little bit here on either side, maybe like a 1/4 of an inch on the front and the back. And then shorten this a little bit. The rise is good like this. I don't need to mess with the rise. The rise is perfect. And the back rise is pretty good too. There's plenty of room. I don't need any less room. I don't need any more room. So here I am just setting up all of my pattern pieces so that I can cut them out. And this did have a little bit of a pattern, so I did try to do some pattern matching. But if I'm being totally honest with you guys, there's no way anybody will be able to tell. Even if they got up really close to the pants, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell that I attempted to do any pattern matching because it has such a small stripe on it that it's really hard to see. And then right here, I will probably realize that I did not do the adjustment that I needed to do at the beginning. So I just cut off the top part of the pants and overlap them by, I think I did about an inch in order to adjust for that waist adjustment that I wanted them to not be so high waisted. So right here. And like I said, it's very simple to do this, and then you just have to even out the pattern. I didn't even have to make any changes to the pockets. It's a super simple adjustment to make. So I think it's funny, in my last video, somebody had commented that they could see there was like a plastic bag on the table, and I am so messy in my sewing room. And I don't know if you guys can see all the stuff that's on the floor and on that little table there. I try to keep it clean when I start a project, but if I'm being totally honest with you guys, my sewing room's a mess. So if it's outside of the range of the camera, I'm probably not going to mess with it. So I don't know about you guys. Why don't you tell me in the comments, what does your sewing room look like? Is it a total mess, or do you try to keep it clean? Like I said, I try to organize and I try to keep it clean, but when I'm sewing, when I'm in the middle of a project, that place is a total mess. And if my boyfriend comes in, he's like, "Oh my God, this place is a mess." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'll clean it up after I'm done. But right now it's a mess, and that's okay." You guys tell me, what's your sewing room like? So after all the cutting, it's finally now time to start prepping and sewing. So this part here is where I am folding over the side ties, I believe, or the straps that tighten it up. So it has you fold them over, iron them down, and then you're going to top stitch them in place. And you do the same thing for the pieces that hold the D-rings as well. So this is an example of why a lot of people say that like 50% of sewing is pressing, because this makes a huge difference in how your garment will look at the end. So you can see here that I'm spending a whole lot of time pressing all of these seams to make sure that it looks nice and neat at the end, and pressing up those corners so that they look nice and crisp. And then after that, you go in and sew them. And it makes it look so much better at the end when you do press all your seams open and you make sure that you press everything nice and flat. It makes it look so much more professional. So here I'm just pressing the pant legs so that I can transfer all of the markings from the pattern onto those pant legs. So now I'm just actually sewing the straps for the D-rings and the straps that tighten it, and those are just sewn together with a top stitch. So you can see here that I'm sewing all of this stuff on my old machine, on my brother machine. The newer machine I used for, I think, only just maybe the pants that I made for my mom, which I didn't record, and then also the all of the Link cosplay. And that machine is so much nicer than this one. This one works. This one works really well, and it's still fine. It's still serviceable, but the other one is like so nice. So here you can see this is what the strap, the D-ring strap looks like as when it's finished. And then the other strap piece will go through it to hold it in place. I basted this in place here inside of the dart here that I left. So these pants have a dart in the back, and that is where you baste this strap to, and then you sew the dart in place, and it kind of encloses that strap inside the dart, like you can see here. And I think this is a pretty nice feature. And then that mark that's underneath there is where we're going to put the welt pocket. And this construction was a little bit confusing, and I was not able to record it because either my battery died or my card was full. So here I'm sewing like a facing on the inside of the welt pocket, and that is just, I guess, in case the pocket comes open and you can see into the welt pocket. I use a different fabric for the lining than I used for the outer fabric. And then this is probably the scary part, where you put the welt pocket piece on the outside and stitch in place all the way around. And one of the things that you can do if you're having trouble like making it the exact size is to lower your stitch length so that you can make sure that it will get on there like perfectly, and you can stay perfectly within where you mark the lines. And then you cut it open. And I don't think that that was part of, I don't think I recorded that part. I probably either my camera battery died or my card became full, because I know it's not on here. But after you sew this, then that's what you do. You would cut it open and you push everything to the inside to create the welt. So yeah, the next step here was me sewing together the crotch seam. The pocket is already done. So I either lost the footage or I never recorded it because either my camera died or the video card was full, which is like the story of my life. But you can see here, I don't hold it up right to the camera though, but you can see here where the welts are faintly because it's black on black, so it's really hard to see. But they did come out really well. And the instructions are very detailed. So I will say it made it a little bit easier to figure out because they do have detailed instructions, just no video. So after you sew together the crotch seam once, it wants you to reinforce it with a second line of stitching. And so I did that. And then the next part here is where I am putting the pocket facing on the pocket bag. So there's two pocket facings because the pockets they're kind of visible on the side there. So you want to make sure that you have the pocket facing so that you can't see that lining. I'm using my 1/4 inch foot here because it's saying to stitch it at 1/4 of an inch, and I don't want to have to figure that out. So this part of the foot right here is 1/4 of an inch. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this part right here, this right side of the foot here is 1/4 of an inch. So if I keep it right up against that fabric there, I'll be at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. So I did this around all of the pocket facing pieces and on all of the pocket pieces because there are 4 of them and they all want you to sew them at 1/4 of an inch. So I used this foot and I only finished that one side because the rest is going to be encased in the side seams of the pants. Same thing again with this one. This is the top pocket facing. So here I am stitching the pocket. I think it's the front pocket to the front of the pants. And then after that, you understitch, which I'm doing right here. You understitch that pocket so that it is not going to be visible and it stays to the inside. And then you trim it down and then you stitch all the way around the pocket bag to attach the other pocket bag piece. And I think that in this one, I actually did them right side to wrong side when they were actually supposed to be right sides together, and then I had to rip it out. So here I am stitching that D-ring into, there is a pleat in the front that you put that into, and then you stitch the pleat into place, which is what I'm doing right here. So, and then it also has you do like a bar tack, which when I was doing this one, I didn't quite do it the right way. I just went back and forth, which is acceptable. However, it looks better if you do like a zigzag, but you do them really, really short and stack them on top of each other. It actually looks much better and it looks more like what they would do in a factory as a bar tack. Or if you have like an industrial machine, you can do a bar tack with an industrial machine, I believe. And then the next thing was to baste in place the pocket so that you baste it to the waistband, which is what I'm doing right here. And then I do another bar tack here on, I believe this is the other pant leg. And then the next part is going to be to sew together the crotch seam underneath where that fly extension is. So that's what I do right here. And then you go back and forth and reinforce that because that's obviously going to be a spot that could have potential stress on it. And then here I'm just finishing off the edges of the fly extension with a zigzag stitch. And you can see that I hand basted the fly extension together so that I can put the zipper in place. And here I'm putting in the zipper, and this was a little bit confusing for me, the way that they have you do it. So I'm not even going to try to explain it. You really have to read the instructions on this one and make sure that you're following them exactly, or you could just use another tutorial if it's too confusing. And like I say in the review, this zipper was, for me, in a weird spot because the opening is on the opposite side than what I'm used to. But you guys can see all of that when I do the reveal and when I do the pattern review. So this is where I'm doing the top stitching around the fly extension. And then I believe there was like a bar tack that they wanted you to put here too in order to like reinforce it. So I think I do that part next. And then this here is the fly shield, I think. And so it has you stitch two of them together and then trim and clip the curves and all of that, turn it back out, and then finish the other end that would still remain raw, and then top stitch it as well. You top stitch all the way around it. And this is like the piece that kind of protects your skin from the fly on the inside of the pants. And then you just attach it in place there. And then, like I said, that edge, I believe it gets the raw edge there, just gets finished with a zigzag stitch. Oh no, that's right. I was putting in a bias tape. So that's what I finished the edge with. You could just finish it with a zigzag stitch, but I decided to do the bias tape, which I also used to finish off the bottom edge of the waistband. And then this is where I am just top stitching next to that fly piece. So here's where I'm doing those bar tacks, and this will just help to reinforce that fly area where it gets the most amount of stress. And then the next part is to sew together both side seams. So here I am sewing together the inseam, and it's goes from the crotch seam all the way down, and then you come back and do the other side. And I don't remember if this was the instructions that they gave you or if this was how I just decided to do it. But I only got about half, and then my camera was either full or the battery died. So the next part was sewing together the waistband. And then you finish off the bottom edge of the waistband. And that I decided to do with the bias tape again because I thought that would look really nice and finished on the inside instead of just doing like the serged edge. I kind of like the way this one looks a little bit better. I think it looks more professional. So the next step is to attach the waistband, matching all of your seams and your notches and all of that. And I will say that as I sew much more, I have a much easier time doing this and making sure everything lines up. But with this pattern, you definitely want to make sure that you keep those straps out of the way and you make sure that like you're not catching any of the layers that you don't want to. And then after that, you do the understitching, and this will keep the waistband from rolling outwards. So you won't see, if you do this correctly, you won't see any of the inside of the pants on the outside. So here I'm just doing a stitch in the ditch to hold that waistband in place. And I mean, you could do a hand stitch if you wanted to. However, I think the pattern recommends you do a stitch in the ditch and you do these along all of your seam lines so that it is invisible and it will also keep your waistband in place. So here I'm hand stitching on the hook and bar that I decided to do as my closure for this. I also have a button and a buttonhole on that fly shield, but I did not record that. And I mean, doing a button and a buttonhole is not super exciting. So I also did some hand finishing around the fly and the fly shield in order to keep some of that stuff in place because it was sitting kind of weird. And I don't think I recorded any of that, but that's not really super exciting. So once this is done, it is time for the reveal. Okay guys, welcome back. Let's talk about these pants. I'm actually wearing them right now. So the Mitchell trousers is what I'm going to be reviewing right now. So we'll go through the ratings and then I will tell you what my ratings are. Okay, so instructions, were they easy and clear? Yes, the instructions were definitely very easy. There were lots of pictures. There's no video tutorial, which I kind of wish there was, because some of the stuff I had to read several times to kind of make it make sense to me. But otherwise, it wasn't too hard to follow, and I would say that it's not terrible. Okay, so for that, I would give it about a 4 out of 5, just because they don't have like a video tutorial with it, and some of the instructions could be a little bit confusing, especially with the zipper construction. Complexity of the pattern. How would I rate the pattern compared to the publisher? Well, that would require me to know what the publisher rates it, right? So these are rated an intermediate, and on these, I would definitely agree. These are intermediate, simply because there were a lot of like little details that you had to kind of figure out, know what you were doing, and kind of just construction wise, I would say I agree with that. So that one I would say 5 out of 5, I agree with that. Fitting, were there adjustments needed? Did the pattern fit true to size? I did make a mock-up for these, and the mock-up just showed me that I wanted to lower the waistband down a little bit. However, with that caveat, I would say that if you are somebody that enjoys wearing a high-waisted pant, you're fine. These are great. There's no need to make any kind of adjustment to them. The rise was correct, at least for me, but I do still think that making a mock-up is beneficial. Like if you know that you have problems with a rise on pants patterns, then definitely make a mock-up so you can see if you need to do a rise adjustment. These pants actually fit me exactly how I wanted them to. There was no rise adjustment needed, no crotch adjustment needed. There was nothing that I needed to do for them. I didn't even need to take them in a little bit, like in the trouser leg, because I actually think that this wide of a leg looks good on me. So it wasn't too wide or too narrow, unlike those carpenter pants that I made from Mood, where they were huge and unflattering. I think these actually look really good and they're very flattering on me. So did the pattern fit true to size, or was the sizing off? I would say 5 out of 5. The sizing was not off for me, at least personally. They fit true to size, and I didn't have to make any adjustments as far as like fitting for like waistband or crotch. Like I said, the only adjustment that I made was to lower the waistband so that they fit more on my natural waist. So the more I'm making trouser patterns, the more I'm finding out that I think I am a little bit short-waisted. Though when you look up the definition of short-waisted, I don't fit into that category, but I do think that I always end up having to make some sort of adjustment to where the waist is going to sit on me, or where I personally like the waist to sit. So for that reason, I would say I'm short-waisted. Maybe other people would disagree. Overall rating of the pattern. This is not really a beginner-friendly pattern. Like I said, there's a lot of complex things in this pattern, but I still would agree with their rating on it, and I would give it a 5 out of 5 because I absolutely love the results. I love how it came out. It's super comfy. I think that depending on the fabric choice that you make, it can look either really professional or really casual, and you can dress it up or you can dress it down. Would I recommend this pattern? Yes, I would recommend this pattern for anybody that is within that sewing level or getting close to it and wants to make something that would challenge their skills a little bit. So if you like this silhouette and you really want to make it, absolutely go for it. I mean, there are no rules in sewing. These are just the ratings that they give these patterns are just to kind of give you an indication of how complex it's going to be and how likely you're going to be able to succeed when you're making it. So if you're an absolute beginner and you're trying a pattern like this, you might be okay, but you might have a really hard time. So just to keep that in mind. And would I make this pattern again? Yes, I would. The only thing that I would say about this pattern is I was a little bit confused by the zipper construction on this pattern. And then also I was confused as to how they were having it done, right? Zippers are normally have the opening on the right-hand side for women. At least all of the pants that I've worn do. This one is on the left side, and I found that to be really weird because when I constructed it, it was telling me to top stitch and it showed it on the left side, but the top stitching didn't go through anything. Sorry, that just died. So this one has you construct the zipper opening on the left side, which I find to be really weird. And I don't know if maybe that's a Canadian thing, because this pattern company, I believe, is based out of Canada. I'm not sure, but I'm so used to it being on the right side that I felt like it was weird when I did it this way. And I will say that being said, if I was going to do this pattern again, I would do it on the other side, because it's weird to me to unzip it that way. The clasp is here, and that's fine, but the zipper is on this side, which just feels weird to me. I don't know. You guys tell me, do you guys have your zipper opening on the left side or the right side? Because like on those cargo pants that I made, or the carpenter pants that I made, the zipper opening was on this side, not this side. And I felt like that felt more natural. I don't know, maybe I'm just being silly, but I still like the pattern. I would just say that if that's something that would bother you, switch it when you're making it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like my content and you want to support my channel, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.